thanks for having us here today. I wanted to bring our partners, New Balance, on stage with us because it's always best to see what our customers are doing instead of me standing there saying how great we are at doing things. So Foundry, just a bit of a background, has been focusing on design visualization and specifically product design visualization. And we see the influence for mass uptake of software, specifically design software, in industries that influence. And so we saw previously Adobe Illustrator's influence over the graphic design and thus the fashion design industries. And undeniably, sports footwear has played a huge role in carrying pop culture into athletics and onto the street. And New Balance has been a key partner of ours in developing visualization tools and also driving visualization through their design pipeline. I hope I haven't just stolen all of your design introduction. So I think we heard the introductions, but do you guys want to talk a little bit about yourselves and how you got into?
No.
No? You're happy with the introductions?
Yeah. Yeah, we can.
Yeah.
So a couple years ago, we were a very 2D process that we go through. We started to look at how could we get our design team designing from 2D into 3D. And I know being at some other companies, tried the process with some other software, and nothing kind of seemed right for the design team. And we kind of stumbled upon Modo, and it made sense for us. It was very user-friendly for the design team. It had a lot of similarities to what Illustrator and Photoshop and things that we were familiar with. So we kind of started down the process of converting 2D to 3D. And I wouldn't say we convert, I'd just say we add another tool to our toolbox. Every one of my designers will still sketch with Sketchbook Pro. We will do, vector art in Illustrator, and now we're just adding another tool with Modo to go to 3D.
So what was the original driver for moving into 3D? So I know you said you're there now, but why did you get into 3D in the first place?
Yeah, so I think just seeing what's going on in the product industry, the 3D is kind of the natural evolution. And footwear is interesting because it's kind of a mix between fashion and product. And fashion industry is really fast moving, and it's about the feel of a garment. Footwear is like this combination where it's a hard good and a soft good. So I think there were struggles to if you could actually model it. And we obviously see it going on. And a couple of things for us was just making better decisions earlier in the process. We work on a pretty long process, 18 months to start a shoe and get it to market. You could have 2 babies. It's a little slow, but it's a long process. So if we can make better decisions earlier in that process, so it's not just designers that are looking at product. We work with engineers and marketing people. So if we can visualize what we're trying to design to that team, that's huge. And then obviously cost savings. We make hundreds of thousands of pairs of samples every year. So if we can cut that number down with virtual prototypes, that's huge for us.
So I think here we've got one of the Illustrator CADs, a traditional kind of Illustrator CAD. And my background isn't in software, my background is in fashion and footwear. So let's say 3 years before this, I was working in fashion and footwear. If you were in kind of fashion and footwear for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, how did those designers feel about you saying, hey, the direction is 3D?
Yeah, they weren't happy. No, you get a mix. This is traditional Illustrator. That's kind of how we presented. And when we went into Modo, we gave people training, and Will's going to talk in a minute, but bringing on kind of as good as it gets for training, William's been able to kind of set a path for us and go forward. But it has been a little bit of a struggle to get people who, like myself, traditional, industrial designer thinking in 2 dimension to try to add that 3rd dimension. That's a challenge for sure. But teach people, you see success, you see, people what you can do with it, and you realize this is a tool that I have to know, otherwise I won't be able to do my job.
And how do you sell that into an executive management team who've never experienced that in their design workflow before?
Yeah, so I think early on we did a bunch of case studies to show, hey, this is what it can be and this is how we can use it. I would say for me at New Balance, the management team, it was relatively easy to sell it in on. Yeah. It was some of the users and some of almost the clients. So the sales team, the marketing team, getting them on board was a little bit more of a struggle because it changed the way they work. Instead of having a physical sample of something, they now were asking them to make a decision off of a virtual prototype. Yeah, right. So that's a challenge for sure.
Well, this is something that you guys have done in Modo. So I guess, why did you choose Modo? William, why?
What was your answer?
Why Modo? I mean, obviously it looks stunning.
Right. There's a lot of 3D programs out there, and I've used a handful of them over the years. And when I first started using Modo, it became very obvious that it was incredibly easy to use. It was easy to learn, and that didn't sacrifice the power of the tool. It's a complete package. It's not just for modeling or for looking at the different materials. The fact that you can get in and create a photorealistic looking product shot and do it all in one package, that was kind of a no-brainer of why it made sense for New Balance to move to Modo.
And that your background isn't in 3D footwear modeling.
No, I mean, my original background is design and illustration as just a traditional illustrator. And I introduced, about 20 years ago, introduced 3D into my pipeline just because I saw how I was able to do things I couldn't do with traditional 2D tools like Illustrator and Photoshop. Down to just when a client would have me do a illustration, a vector illustration, and they would say, okay, can we get it from a different angle? I meant a whole new illustration.
Yeah, sure.
And I started introducing 3D into my pipeline, but slowly, not just diving head first, and started bringing some of those Illustrator files into 3D and then creating the 3D visualization. And then when they asked for another illustration, I just moved the camera or rotated the object.
And how did that introduction go for you guys? That introduction of 3D and the introduction of Modo into a design pipeline. When you said introduce it slowly, was it a slow kind of course, or was it?
We've been working for, I'd say, 2.5, 3 years, and we were just saying that it's a 3 to 5 year plan, right? And you can't expect to kind of turn on 3D and be good at it right away. We needed to build an internal team. We needed to train our design team, and we're just starting to put Colorway, which we're going to talk about, into our pipeline.
Yeah.
But it's a super powerful tool, and we always joke at New Balance that Modo is a verb. Somebody will ask us if we can Modo that, because the marketing team or the sales team, we don't have a real physical sample, and they want to be able to see it, and they say, can you Modo that? And we know what that means, and we go back and make a great model, and we're able to show them what it should look like instead of waiting 6 to 8 weeks for a sample to come in.
What does it mean when they say, can you Modo that? Does it mean we want a photorealistic,
we want, not that.
Let's go back.
Yeah, go the other one. We want a photoreal sample, something visual, and then we want to show materials, colors, all of that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
And what's great is once you have the 3D asset, it can be more than just a still image. We can do a turntable. We can use it for interactive work with like Sketchfab and things like that.
Yeah.
And 3D printing. We've been doing a lot of 3D printing with it as well.
And are you animating those as well? Can you create? Yeah.
Yep.
So, do your 2D designers still sketch, like flat sketch?
Of course.
Is that?
Of course.
And are you seeing a movement away from that, or are you seeing an equal amount, but just an extension of their?
No, I think every designer is different. I would hope that every designer always will sketch. To me, that's one of the most important things that I look for. When I'm looking at a designer's portfolio, I want to see how they sketch, how they think, how they ideate. And I feel like sometimes when you get into Illustrator and into Modo, you get locked into an idea because you're trying to manipulate the tools to make your design. With a hand sketch, it's very expressive, the lines flow. So to me, this is just a tool that you add in. Like I said earlier, you add it into your toolbox. It's something that you use. And when you present, it looks that much better in the end.
Are you seeing any of the 2D designers kind of cross over? Are any of them doing a bit of 3D now? Are any of them starting to like get into 3D, or are you still separating that as like a 3D, 2D?
No, so the way we have it set up in New Balance, we do have, William has a 3D team that specializes in that, but all the footwear designers have been trained in Modo, and like we said, there's a curve. There's plenty that are right in it and using it, and they see the benefit.
Yeah.
There's others, not so much. You got to give them a little nudge to try to get into it. But I mean, you can see from the work that you're showing up here, you know, 2D is powerful, but 3D, like if you keep going, is amazing. And you know, we've been able to take some of the 3D assets that we've created, bring them into After Effects, kind of create like these highlight reels. And we'll be at our kind of final design review, and we're showing, you know, a shoe like that. And there's no question of what it's going to look like, and we can get the team super excited with this asset that we've created.
So what are the barriers that still exist with those 2D designers getting into 3D? So what are the barriers of them modeling?
Well, part of it is that it's a whole new part of the pipeline.
Yeah.
So if you're used to doing hand sketches and then bring them into a vector program like Illustrator, and working there, it's a different world. So part of it is just, I think one of the big barriers is just knowing that it is possible.
Yeah.
Right. That you know, I always tell people that you know, don't get too worried about can you do this, because a lot of people have done it.
Yeah.
So if other people have done it, then it is possible. But it is just a different workflow. But you can take your 2D work and bring it into 3D, just like you would take your 2D sketches and bring it into Illustrator and trace on top of. Well, you can bring your 2D illustrations into Modo and use it as a template and build on top of that. So it's just kind of a different mindset. But what I've seen is, you know, several of the designers, once they kind of had their aha moment, the light went on, started seeing them use it more and more, even in early stages of design.
Yeah, I think it's time and commitment. You have to dedicate a good amount of time to get good at the program, and you have to be committed to it. And you know, sometimes with tight deadlines and things, it just doesn't allow itself. But yeah, we've seen plenty of designers that have incorporated and done. This is all stuff done by our design team.
And do you assign like some time for the guys to kind of explore, you know, 3D as well as part of their...
that was one of the things that I really felt like New Balance got it from the beginning, and they didn't just buy a bunch of software and say, hey, you know, start using it.
Yeah.
They invested in training, and there was weekly training.
Yeah.
There's still ongoing training that happens, and it wasn't, like you said, there's this 3 to 5 year plan.
Yeah.
But from the beginning, there was dedicated time during the day, each week, that the designers had to do training.
And is the pushback, because I see from other, you know, some other companies and other industries as well, that the pushback is often that they've got a tight deadline and there's just no time to learn new software. But I feel like that's the same discussion that we were having 20 years ago or 30 years ago with Adobe Illustrator and, you know, people sketching and faxing sketches to different factories and stuff. Is that the same kind of conversation that you're still having? Is that people are feeling really under pressure, designers are feeling really under pressure to deliver, and they're not getting enough space?
Yeah, I think it's two things. I think one, you have to change your process, right? So we work off this traditional 18-month calendar. You need to change what that process is to incorporate the new tool. Yeah. And then people just need to spend the time to learn the program. Okay. And if it's a must-have, and that's the way people expect to see a product, then you know you kind of have to do it.
And you guys have adopted Colorway, which is like a variation control application. And I guess why Colorway, and what has that given you?
Yeah, so Colorway for us was like this natural extension of Modo. Yeah. So Modo allowed us to model and create these real samples. And if you know, everybody who's been into a footwear store, you've seen how many different color variations and material variations there are on a wall. We traditionally sample every one of those 2 or 3 times before we actually sell it. So Colorway allows us to sample them virtually and drastically reduce the amount of samples that we make. So we're in that process of implementing that into our pipeline. The other feature that's amazing for us is that you enter data and information once, and it flows from Modo all the way into Colorway. So a lot of the mistakes are made in Illustrator by somebody copying, pasting fields, and manually entering data multiple times. With Colorway, you do it once, it flows through everything, and you have this build of materials that's, should be correct.
And it's, I guess it's easier for designers to pick up Colorway as well, because it's a cleaner interface and
very, very straightforward.
it's slightly
it's a lot of drag and drop. It's a lot of drag and drop.
Less tools than Modo.
Yes.
But
I'm an expert in Colorway.
yeah.
Not so
We're
much
experts in
Modo.
Modo, obviously. So yeah, I guess the onboarding time's much faster.
Yeah, usually it's one training session.
Yeah.
Instead of weeks of training sessions.
And have you seen people pick up Colorway and sort of say, okay, well now I want to change the lighting, and now could you show me how to do that in Modo, and kind of push to the, are they making that next step yet of like, now I want to try that little bit in Modo so that I can edit my own, Colorway asset?
Yeah, I think it's a mix. Like Jared said, there's some people are pushing it beyond what is done, what we cover in, let's say, a training session.
Yeah.
And those are the designers that I really love working with, is when they come back with, hey, you haven't shown this, we haven't really talked about this, but I had this idea to take it to here, and to use other areas of Modo, which, of course you can create the 3D assets, but in Modo it's got everything. It's got, dynamics and particles and all these other features that are pretty amazing and powerful, but you wouldn't necessarily use it on every, shoe that you're doing an illustration.
Are the designers pushing new design ideas because of the 3D experience? Like, are they exploring potentially textures and treatments that they wouldn't have seen until a physical sample came through, and so they're seeing them and then saying, actually, no, I don't want that at all, or like, are they making more design decisions earlier on in the process?
Yeah, I definitely think we are. I mean, I think we're seeing materials come to life on the sample in the way you've designed it, so it definitely changes what you'd be doing with it.
Yeah.
The other thing is that a designer can design around the whole shoe. Like, you show those 2D flat Illustrator images, you're kind of getting an idea of what it goes like around the shoe. When you're designing in 3D, you can see all the way around it. And some of the tools that are interesting that I think we've just kind of scratched the surface is the paint ability within Modo, where you can have a shoe or a last, and you can paint right on it, sketch around it, and really see something kind of come to life in 3D in front of your eyes. So that's really powerful.
Yeah. And William, I remember you saying that some of the materials that you're texturing in Modo are some of the craziest materials you've ever had to texture in the history of your 3D career.
Yes, some of the designs are much more intense than what I've done on past products for film and games and television, is because of crazy knit patterns, or just some of the layering that's going on. But those are the kind of things that, for me, I love those challenges, and we've got an amazing team that's working on this stuff and coming up with great solutions. And
I guess what's the end goal for you guys? Is it to use these assets in marketing? Is it, where do you want to get to? Do you want all of your designers to be 3D designers eventually, or?
No, I think no. I think you're going to always have a mix of 2D and 3D designers. I think every young designer that we hire, we want them to have 3D skills, because at some point everybody will be. But yeah, when you create an asset like this, we can then use it in a photo shoot. We can use it in marketing material. There's so many savings down the road as we go. Yeah. So there's huge benefits. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, more and more people are buying products online from images. Yeah. Not from holding a physical sample. Yeah. So the idea of being able to take the same asset that we're using for product visualization internally and use it on the site and for marketing materials only makes sense. And it's all good and well to have these incredibly beautiful pictures, but I know that there are so many people out there that are just trying to get into 3D and just not knowing, what the next step is. Like, what advice would you give a team that's saying, hey, I think we need to start looking into this 3D stuff, or into a brand saying, I want to go into this 3D, or just someone at home or maybe finishing uni? I think the big one is something that we touched on, which is it doesn't have to replace your tool set. That was the thing that I think made it easy for me to get into 3D years ago, was that instead of
you have a nicer reflection on you.
Sorry.
Not a pink stripe across your head.
Instead of thinking that, okay, I've got to take all of my traditional drawing skills and my working with Illustrator and Photoshop and things like that, and saying, okay, that's got to be pushed aside because now I'm going to be a 3D artist. Years ago, I just slowly introduced 3D. I would take Illustrator files, Modo loads in Illustrator files and SVG files, and I could take those and start creating 3D elements from that. And things like the New Balance In and other logos and things like that, those are coming from Illustrator. You don't have to recreate them. So I think one big piece of advice would be that it's just another tool. It doesn't have to replace all the tools in your toolkit. It can just be another tool that you use in the pipeline, and it's something that it's not going away. This stuff affords you so much to create an image like this. Of course, you wouldn't have the wireframe on there, but to create an image like this, yeah, you could do it. You could paint that in Photoshop. You could render it, but man, the time it would take. Once you start working in 3D, it's so easy to generate an image like this. Yeah. And then when they come back and they say, we want all new materials, and if you start building up that material library, you start dragging and dropping materials. Yeah. And it just doesn't get easier than that.
Yeah, I would say a couple things. One, have like a 3 to 5 year plan on getting into 3D and how you're going to get there and what are the benefits. 2, hire an expert who knows what they're talking about.
The expert.
Yeah, you need to have somebody who understands the process, can set up the pipeline, can bring in a team and really get that. I think having William on board has kind of leapfrogged us by a couple years because of that. But yeah, just be patient with it too, because it takes time.
Cool.
And if you haven't started, you're late. So.
No, there's always time. There's always time. That's all from us. Thank you very much. Yeah, thanks, guys.
Thank you.